So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session hosted by Education USA Tunisia and Education USA Libya to make you knowledgeable about how to apply to an engineering program. So, my name is Elham, and I'm the Education USA advisor for Tunisia. Joined today by Amira Wardani, who is the Education USA from Libya, and our guest speaker, Lynn Larson from the University of Texas, Arlington. So let me share my screen to let you know about what we do as Education USA advisors and what we offer as a center. So we offer you So, as an Education USA institution, we are a U.S. Department State network, and we are over 430 international student advising centers in more than 180 countries. So, what we do to help you is to offer you free, unbiased, and accurate information about all accredited institutions in the U.S. because there are around 4,500 universities in the US, and you can't know everything about them. So we are here to help you. What we do also is to offer you free presentations on how to apply. So on the application steps, on the student visa. Also, we help you to write good essays for the universities you're applying for, and we give you tips on interviews and many more services. So you also can chat with us and have other virtual US study events to attend, and you can meet admissions officers and university representatives like our guest speaker today. So before starting, before starting our presentation, you have to check our official website, which is educationusa.state.gov, and here where you can find us on social media. So you have Education USA Libya and Education USA Tunisia on Facebook, and also we are on Instagram. So you can go ahead and like our pages, and you will find all updates about Education USA and the events that we offer. So here is our speaker today, and I will leave the floor to Emira to present it to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ilham, for this presentation. So hello, everyone, again, and welcome to today's session. Thank you again for joining us from North Africa. So for anyone who's watching us today and who's interested in studying engineering in the US, this session is for you. You will get to learn more about the application process and the funding opportunities for undergraduate and graduate students, as well as some essential tips for email etiquette. So if you know anyone who's interested in this topic, please share this video with him or with her. And remember, a recorded version of the session will be available on our Facebook pages. We would love to hear more from you as well. So feel free to write down your questions, and we'll bring them up at the end of the session. So we're very excited to welcome our guest today, Ms. Lynn Larson. She is the Director of Student Recruitment in the Dean's Office, College of Engineering, the University of Texas at Arlington. In this position, Lynn is charged with creating and implementing a recruitment strategic plan to grow the college significantly by 2025. So in her 20-year career in international recruitment and admissions, she has worked with 4 institutions of higher education, all with varying admission requirements for engineering programs. Lynn has presented on aspects of international student recruitment and admissions, credential evaluation, ethical practices, and institutional policies with different college admission counselings and Education USA Forum. She is a co-author in NAFSA's 2017 publication, Managing a Successful International Admissions Office. Thank you, Lynn, for coming today, and I'm going to leave the floor for you right now.
Oh, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Soon as I can, I will share my screen. Awesome, just give me a second and I will pop up the PowerPoint that I need. Hang on one second. Okay. Do, 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 do. Sorry, guys, I was looking at this earlier and now I'll get going. Okay, so again, thank you so much for joining us today. As I was introduced, we are going to talk about the best way to prepare an application for an engineering program. As was said, I've worked in 4 different institutions in the United States, all with varying degrees of engineering programs, from robust ones to ones that were a collaboration between 2 different universities or 3+2. I worked at a school that was extremely competitive in their engineering admission process, and the school that I'm currently working at, which is competitive, but not as competitive as the most competitive school I've ever worked at. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to best prepare as an undergraduate student as well as a graduate student, the criteria for admission, how to decide what area you want to study, exams that might be expected. Given that we are now in COVID, a lot of those exam requirements have been waived. Different clubs and organizations that you might also want to consider while choosing an engineering program, and some things you might want to think about after you graduate with your bachelor degree. For graduate students, some hints on, again, admission criteria, the importance of faculty who share your interests, letters of recommendation, those kinds of things. We'll spend a couple of minutes talking about PhD specific candidates because that process is a little bit different. And then we are going to talk a little bit about email protocol, just so that you know from an admission or recruitment side what we might expect from you. So let's jump right in with the undergraduate applicants.
Lynn, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you please make sure that you're sharing your screen?
Oh, am I not sharing it? I thought I was. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Let me go back. Okay, let's do this. Share screen. Thank you for interrupting me. I thought I was sharing my screen. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It was just the introduction.
Okay, it should be this one. Okay, so
Yes.
I assume you can see it now. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Slideshow. Yes, please. From current slide. There, can you see it now? Oh, great. Thank you so much. So again, for undergraduate students, depending on the competitiveness of the school that you're applying to, some of this may apply and some of it may not. Unfortunately for you as a student, there are over 4,500 institutes of higher education in the US, and each one that has an engineering program is going to have different admission criteria. So it's really important for you to decide based on a lot of different factors, and we'll get into some of those in a couple of minutes, what is going to be expected of you for that application. So part of what we're going to look at when we're evaluating you for an engineering program is your school marks, your school grades, your transcripts, your maybe internal tests, internal national exams, if that applies to you. We'll look at your scores for 4 years. Your first year of secondary school, which we would call 9th grade, which may be part of your middle school. We'll look at the courses you took in preparation for years 10, 11, and then we'll look at what you're taking in year 12 to make sure that you are still taking those courses that we think you need to have in order to be a successful engineering program. Some of those courses we'll talk about in a minute. Also, some schools are waiving the SAT or ACT because of COVID. Others are not. Some may waive it for admission, but may need it for scholarship opportunities. So this is something you also need to consider as you're looking at the schools you're looking to apply to. In most cases, TOEFL or IELTS and now Duolingo would be a requirement. Again, every school is going to have a different requirement as to what level you need to obtain to gain immediate admission to an engineering program. So for example, for the really competitive school that I worked at before the one I'm at now, the TOEFL score had to be an 84. The school I'm at right now, it's a 79. So yeah, there's a difference. We both have excellent engineering programs. It's just that one was much more competitive than the other one. So as I said, each one is going to have its own set of requirements. And because in the US, we like our independence, there are no national standards a student must meet to gain admission to an engineering program. For some engineering programs, it's highly recommended that you take the highest level math and physics that your school offers. If you're in an international school that has either an AB, an IB, or a British curriculum, IGCSE, A-level curriculum, or an American curriculum that has AP, those courses would be highly recommended at the higher levels. So you might need to consider taking AP calculus or IB higher level math or A-level math or physics or things like that. So it all depends on what your curriculum offers you. If those curriculums are not offered to you, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We can't force students to take things that aren't available to you. So you do want to take those courses that are going to be most challenging for you in the curriculum that you have. Some schools are going to require statements. Sorry, it's allergy season here in Texas. Are going to require statements or essays that they want you to complete. Make sure that when you're writing those statements or essays, that you're answering the question or the subject that is on the application. You want to make sure that the story is specific to you and not to a friend or a parent, but something specific to you. Why do you want to study engineering? What is the school that you're applying to? How is that school going to help you meet your goals? What are your future goals after graduation? So there's like a beginning, a middle, and an end to your story. This is why I love engineering. This is why your school's the perfect fit for me. This is what I intend to do after I graduate. Some universities are going to require letters of recommendation. Others are not. If you are requested to send in a letter of recommendation, it would be really helpful for you, number one, to find teachers in your school who like you and who know you and your academic ability. So at least one of those letters needs to be about your academic success and the potential of you being successful in a bachelor degree program at a university. Another letter can either be from a different teacher, or maybe you had a job shadowing experience or a research experience or a group project experience. And the supervisor of those experiences could also be another recommender, talking about how you're really good at teamwork or how you're good working as an individual and in a team to get a project completed. So there's different kinds of letters of recommendation, but just remember to make sure that they are talking specifically about your skills and your abilities and your potential for success. So again, one of the really important things for undergraduate students is it really helps if you love math. If you think about it, engineering is really based on math. It's based on calculus, it's based on geometry, it's based on differential equations. All these kinds of things are really important when you start getting into engineering. I'm not sure I'd want to be driving along a bridge that was constructed with certain angles to make it safe if the student didn't understand what geometry was. So it is really important to love math, or at least be really successful in math. Maybe it's not your favorite subject, but you're good at it, or you strive to be good at it. The other interesting thing is there are so many different types of engineering. It's not just building bridges or building buildings, but there's biomedical engineering that's doing fabulous research in tissue regeneration and cancer research, and even to the point of like bettering the MRI and CAT scan machines and X-ray machines. So that would be kind of bioengineering. Civil engineering would include everything from transportation systems to waterways to building construction to airport construction, building new buildings with the most environmentally sensitive materials, things like that. Computer science, computer engineering, software engineering, all those techie things. You know, we all need our computers, we all need our phones. Industrial engineering is a lot of supply chain management and logistics, engineering management. You know, you have a background in engineering, but you also want to do a little bit of business. Engineering management might be something you want to look at. Mechanical engineering, robots, cars, tinkering with things, new microwaves. You know, the latest thing in the United States right now are air fryer toaster ovens. Well, those were all created by mechanical engineers. Put a bunch of stuff together and see if it works. Aerospace engineering is everything from airplanes to rockets to satellites to drones. Chemical engineering, working with chemicals to produce new energy. Petroleum engineering, mining, electrical engineering, which is probably one of the most diverse areas of engineering. I mean, anything that has electricity in it or is run by electrical circuits, everything from your phone to a dog collar to grandpa's pacemaker, those were all created by electrical engineers. And there's just so many other kinds of engineering. It's just not one particular thing. One of the things you want to look out for in an undergraduate program is if you're interested in doing projects, are those available at the campus you're looking at? Are there research opportunities for undergraduate students? In many universities, there are specific offices of undergraduate research that you can go to find a research project that is either already in progress or they're looking for additional students. Sometimes when you get to know your professors, you know, they might have a research project you're really interested in, and you can go up to them after class and say, you know, Professor Smith, I understand you're doing research in this subject that really interests me. Is there a possibility for me to work with you? They're not scary people. Professors love to have students come up and talk to them. There's also many opportunities for internships or job shadowing, where you can actually go into industry and either do an internship that's paid during the winter break or the summertime, sometimes during class time, or job shadowing where you can actually follow someone who's in an industry that you think you want to join, but you're not really sure what they do. So you can actually follow them in their job and kind of watch over their shoulder to see what their job actually really is. Another thing that you might want to think about is the campus location. Do you want to be in an urban area? Do you want to be more in the countryside or in a small city? Do you want to be close to family and friends who might be in the United States, or as far away from them as possible so you can exert your independence? Another thing that a lot of students don't think about is the weather. The United States is a very vast country. We have everything from deserts to high mountains. So we have extreme heat all the way to freezing cold, ice and snow. So if you've never experienced snow and you want to know how to build a snowman or make, you know, snow shapes or a snow tunnel or a snow igloo, things like that, you know, you want to look somewhere probably in the north or in the mountain areas of the United States. If you really want a temperate climate where it doesn't change that much, you probably want to look in the southernmost part of the states. If you want 4 seasons, that's also available to you. So you can experience all 4 seasons that might happen in that geographic area that you're looking at. One of the other things that's really important is campus life. So what kind of student services are available on a university campus? You know, are there math tutoring opportunities or what we call mat labs, where you can go in as an individual or as a group and actually, you know, work out the problems that you were just given in the lecture 15 minutes ago. You can do the same for a physics lab. We also have things like accounting labs. And even though you're an engineer, the important thing about an accounting lab is that you can figure out how much money do you have in your bank account so that you don't overspend it, right? Keeping track of things like that. Clubs and organizations run the gamut, everything from the International Student Club to maybe a Quidditch club or a cricket club or a pre-professional club. In engineering, there are pre-professional student organizations that are connected to the international or national organizations of that professional society. And what I mean by that is there's the Society of Electrical Engineers. There's the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. There's the International Society of Industrial Engineers. There's the Aerospace Society and the the Civil Engineering Society, and then there's the Environmental Engineering Society. So when you come to campus, and if you join one of these pre-professional organizations, not only are you going to make friends with the students who are in that organization because you all have this similar interest, but very often they will bring in professionals who are actually working in that area, say biomedical engineering. They'll come in and they'll talk about their experiences at the university and then their experiences in the workforce and how they made that transition. And you can also find out if what you're studying is what these people actually do. So it's a really nice networking opportunity. And again, there's other clubs and organizations, sports, culture, food, books, religion. I mean, they just run the entire gamut. Career services is something that you also want to pay attention to. Most universities have a career center that you really want to connect with from your first time on campus so that you know what kinds of skills and knowledge are the employers or internship opportunity offerers looking for, so that when you are ready to apply for a job after graduation for a year, if you're ready to apply for an internship, you'll have a better idea of what companies offer the kinds of experiences that you want to pursue. Post-graduation, you are able to work for 1 year in a paid position that you find, but we help you determine what those companies might be through the career services. We have those connections. We won't guarantee you the job, but we'll give you the opportunity for looking for that job and interviewing for that job. In STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, you can actually extend your optional practical training or one job placement after graduation for up to 3 years. So now let's talk a little bit on the graduate side. The graduate student applicant needs to pay attention to everything we just discussed for the undergraduates, but there are also some additional requirements. That would include, what subject matter did you have in your bachelor degree? This can really make a difference. For example, at my current school, there are certain requirements to be able to be admitted to the computer science program. And these requirements are classes that should have been taken in the bachelor degree to prepare you for the master degree. If you're coming from a computer science background in your bachelor degree, that's usually not an issue. But if you're coming from an electronics or electrical engineering background, you may be missing some courses which would not allow you to be automatically or easily admitted to that master's program. If you had a degree in, let's say, physics, and you wanted to go into civil engineering or material science or mechanical engineering, you might have an easier time getting in because you have this background in math and physics. Remember, everything in engineering is pretty much based on math and physics, unless you're in the biomedical field, and then you need chemistry or biology, things like that. Again, the exams for graduate students would include, the GRE or the GMAT if you're going to go into more of an engineering management field. A lot of those exams are waived at the master level, but not at the PhD level. So again, it's going to be really important for you to look at the schools that you're interested in to determine if those test requirements are waived. Again, TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo would also be required. Again, the scores are going to be different depending on which school you're applying to and which academic area that you are interested in. PhD students require all of the above, plus some specific departmental supplemental information. This may include a CV, a statement of purpose, letter of recommendation, things like that. A list of everything you've researched or published, things like that. And again, unfortunately for you as a student, not all requirements are the same. Each institution individually determines what that admission criteria is going to be. That's why you have Education USA, who can help you narrow down those searches, help you figure out a way to figure out where you want to go and what you want to study. And again, these statements of purpose, very much like the essays for the undergraduates, you want to make sure that you say, this is my background. This is why I want to come to your school. This is how your school is going to help me reach my goal. And then what is that end goal? You know, do you want to further your education? Do you want to go into a certain type of industry? Things like that. You want to also include any research experience you may have had or project experience you've had, either in your bachelor degree or after you graduated. Maybe you went into the workforce for a little while. All of that information is going to be considered on your application. You know, if you had a publication or a co-publication, anything that kind of relates to the subject you want to study, you want to make sure you include in a statement of purpose. A statement of purpose should be no longer than a page, maybe a page and a half. You don't want to drone on too long because you want to leave some of those questions unanswered. So when you get a chance to interview or actually meet the professors you're going to be working with, they find out a little bit more about you. Your letters of recommendation are also really important. They really do need to address your success in your undergraduate or work environment in the area that you're seeking to pursue your master or PhD program. Again, academic, at least one. If you need 3 letters, 2 of those letters need to be academic. The other one can be from an employer or a supervisor of a project. If there's 2 letters, 1 of each would suffice. So just keep those things in mind and make sure that they're really positive and really put you in the best light. Again, this is a reason why, as an undergraduate student, you want to get to know your professors because they're going to be the ones writing these letters of recommendation for you. Also for graduate students, the faculty can be really important. You want to try to find faculty who share your same interests. You know, as an undergraduate, things are much broader, but as a graduate student, things narrow down. If you think of it kind of like a pyramid, you know, undergraduates are here, you know, master students are here, and PhD students are up at the top of that pyramid. So you want to make sure that you're finding faculty that have your interests, your general interests. If you're going to do a thesis in a master's program, you really want to try to find 2 or 3 professors who share that same interest with you. As a PhD student, it's critical that you find professors who share your same interests, because very often PhD students do receive funding, and the funding is going to come from whatever research money that particular professor has. And you really need to hone in on having that exact same interest at the PhD area. Again, you want to look at the research options available at the institution. Again, does the school offer that exact area that you're really, really interested in? Are there more than one faculty who share my interest? You know, the more faculty, the greater your success potential is going to be. What are the research or project opportunities? What is the mission of that department? You know, we all have, let's say, electrical engineering departments, but the mission of the department might be different from campus to campus. You know, it's a big field, electrical engineering, just like computer science is a big field, or civil engineering is a big field. So you may want to look at civil engineering, and maybe you want that master's in construction management. Not a whole lot of schools have that. And so you want to make sure that you're paying attention to what the emphasis areas are in the departments of the school that you're looking at. And again, make use of the Career Center, make sure there is a Career Center because this will help you further along after you graduate. So funding is always a really big question for students. And again, every institution is going to have its own format for funding, its opportunities for funding, the requirements to receive funding, and how much money is actually available in that institution. So for undergraduate students, funding can be merit or need-based for the most part. Merit aid is offered by state universities based upon your high academic achievement, where need-based funding is not as common in public institutions as it is in private institutions. This funding can be small amounts or large amounts. It can be a one-time amount or it can be renewable every year if you maintain a certain grade point average or GPA. Some institutions will automatically award you a scholarship or funding based upon just the information in your application. Some institutions will require a separate application. So at my institution right now, as an undergraduate student, if you qualify for a merit-based scholarship, it's going to be automatically given to you. That, in addition to perhaps a specific engineering application, may require a small statement. So if you qualify for that other engineering specific scholarship, we will send you an email and we'll have you fill out a form and you will be considered for that scholarship. For graduate assistantships, scholarships are very uncommon. There are a few of them around, but most funding is going to come in the form of an assistantship, either a regular graduate student assistant, a graduate teaching assistant, or a graduate research assistant. These assistantships are awarded by the faculty. There again, you see the connection. You look at what kind of faculty are in that department. The faculty award the assistantships. It's good for them to get to know you. Assistantships can come with a greatly reduced tuition amount. It can come with a partial tuition waiver. They will probably come with a small stipend so that your costs, out-of-pocket costs, are much lowered. For PhD students, your funding may come from either an assistantship or a fellowship. It's more likely for a PhD student to receive close to full funding than it is for a master's student. And again, funding is going to come either from the university as a whole or from the academic department, depending on how that university is organized. There's a lot of information on funding opportunities on each individual website. And do keep in mind that no one is guaranteed funding. Not an American student, not a Tunisian student, not a Libyan student, not a student from England. No one is guaranteed funding. It all depends on how much funding is available within that school or department, and also how many students have applied for that funding, right? Because we all know students need funding. The other thing to keep in mind that 100% funding for the cost of attendance, which would include tuition, fees, housing, food, books, health insurance, miscellaneous expenses, are very, very rare. Okay, again, very rare to receive 100% funding. In state institutions for non-state residents, that's not going to exist in a public institution. It might exist in a private institution in the state. And again, there are so many institutions, over 4,500 in the US, that everyone has their own rules and regulations for funding. If you don't receive funding, it's not that we don't like you, it's just we didn't have enough money. We do try to fund or partially fund as many students as we possibly can, because we know how important students are in the work that we do and the mission of the university. So now I want to talk a little bit about email protocol. And this really hit home this morning when I was looking at an email from a graduate student, I won't tell you from where, that basically said, Lynn, you must answer me now the question I wrote to you yesterday. That's all it said. No name, just the email address, no subject. So those kinds of emails really irk me and bother other admission and recruitment personnel, because this is a professional relationship. You want to put your best foot forward. So you always want to write, dear doctor, professor, supervisor. If you don't know what rank this person has or what position they have, you might just want to say, dear recruitment director, dear director, dear sir, dear madam, or sir/madam if you don't know the gender of the person that you're writing to. And remember that a title does not dictate a gender. You know, there's a lot of female professors who are doctors of whatever it is they've studied. So that's something definitely to keep in mind. Never start with, hey, hiya, how you doing? You know, we don't know each other. And so you're trying to build a professional relationship, and it needs to start respectfully. And remember, this is not a personal letter. This is not a letter to your friend or to your grandmother or to your auntie or to your brother or your sister. This is to someone that you don't know, and you're trying to put yourself in the best light, and give yourself the best advantage. Also in an email, you want to make sure that you're using complete sentences. You're not using text speak. And believe it or not, a couple of weeks ago, I received an email from a father that was completely written in text language. Like you was you, please PLZ, thanks THX. It was like I had to get one of my younger students to come in and read it and translate it for me because I may be a little older. I had no idea what this father was asking me. It was the craziest thing in the world. In your emails, be concise, be direct, honest, but don't be demanding, like that example that I gave you earlier. You know, we are busy. We have a lot to do. We will get back to you. But if you're concise and honest, and I'll talk about that in a minute, we're going to be better able to help you. Make sure that when you write to us, you're telling us your story and not the story of a friend or a friend of a friend or something you heard on the street. When you're writing to us, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, but don't give us everything. 2, 3, 4 sentences. Do your ask, and always remember to say thank you. So something else, what is concise? It should, when you're writing us an email, it should be no more than 3 paragraphs. If your question or your issue takes more than 3 paragraphs to explain, we may not totally understand what it is you're asking us for or what we can do for you. So the more concise you are, the better we're going to be able to help you. So for example, you know, dear Miss Larson, my name is Sue, and I'm emailing you about financial aid since my parents are divorced, separated. Please advise me on how to complete the paperwork I need, right? Not the whole story as to what happened to the parents or how it affected the family, but just, this is my situation. This is my question. Can you guide me as to what I need to do? Very simple. And what is that? 2 sentences? It's not like 2 or 3 paragraphs. So concise really helps us figure out how best to answer your questions. And the other thing that we think is also really important is do a little bit of research on the university that you're writing to. If you write to me and say, hi, I got your name off of an email list and I'm really curious, tell me everything about your university. What courses do you offer? What's student life like? How much does it cost? Is that really the impression you want to make? To me, that means you know nothing about my institution. You know nothing about the courses we offer. You know nothing about our student population. And it just kind of hurts me that you're writing to me asking me for information you can easily find on a website. I know we're all virtual right now and websites are good. Some are better than others. But websites are really the place you want to start in researching the schools that you want to go to. And also think about the purpose of the email. What do you want from it? What can I do for you to answer a question, to guide you through a process? Introduction, do the ask, say thank you, okay? And then also be specific about your request. If you're asking me something about admissions or about the status of your application, I may not have access to that information, and I may forward that information to somebody else who will be better prepared to answer that question for you. Also keep that message, again, personal to you and not about anybody else. So for PhD inquiries, and I get a lot of these, you really need to find that person who has the same interest in your field. If you write to someone like me who represents the entire college And if you're asking me about a nanotechnology professor studying X thing in nanotechnology, I'm really not the one who's going to be able to help you, because we have over 300 professors. I haven't memorized all of their areas of research as much as I would like to. So it's really up to you to find that person directly who would be able to best assist you. In your initial email, don't write more than 1, 2, maybe 3 lines. You're not going to send a form letter. You're not going to send your entire life history. You're not going to send your CV. You're going to make that general introduction. Hi, my name is Lynn. I'm interested in exoskeleton research. I have done some work in my bachelor degree at this university. I'm really interested in learning more or talking to you about the potential of working with you on this part of the exoskeleton. Thank you very much. Professors are really busy. So the more concise you are and the more direct you are, and the shorter your sentences, the shorter your ask, you're more likely to get a response. If you send a professor 2 pages of email, I can almost guarantee it's not going to be read. They just don't have the time to do that. And always have a clear idea of that exact research area you want to go into. And again, scholarships and fellowships are not guaranteed. There's really strong competition at the PhD level and limited amounts of funds. And again, you want to make sure you find somebody who has your exact interests, because they're going to mentor you. It's like a chain, right? It has to link together. They're going to mentor you and help you through that entire process. And always good behavior. Have a professional email address if you already don't have one. I've seen some really crazy ones out there. And whatever email address you use for your college applications, your conversations with admission people, with professors, make sure you write it down and you're using that same email address. Also, when you're sending us an email and we respond to you, check your junk and spam folder, because it may have ended up there. Occasionally, I will get an email from a student that I duly answer, and a couple of days later, it's like, Ms. Lynn, where's my answer? It's like, well, I sent it to you Tuesday. I didn't get it. Have you checked your junk folder, right? So you want to make sure you do that as well. And don't send multiple emails asking the same question. We will get back to you as soon as possible. In this virtual world, we're doing a lot of meetings and a lot of events online. We're not always just sitting at our desks doing email. We have a whole bunch of other things we need to be doing, but we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. My goal is to do it within 48 hours. Sometimes I meet that goal, and I'll be honest, sometimes I don't, but we all really try to make sure that we are answering your question. And again, if I can't answer your specific question, I may forward it to someone else who will be better able to help and assist you. So make sure you're checking your email for, whatever university you've written to, that last part of the address says at whatever university you've written to, so that you're not just automatically deleting things and you'll have to ask again. So I hope you got some good information from this presentation. I know I threw a lot of information at you. It is a large subject. Applying for engineering programs can be stressful. We understand that. Knowing how to appropriately converse with someone can also be a little bit different. And so I hope you did get some useful information. Here's some information that I'd be happy to help you with. My direct email address, the Be an Engineer email address, is for undergraduate students who might be interested in studying at UTA as an engineering student. There's our website, and then Grad Engineering for graduate students. The students who answer those 2 email addresses are trained student ambassadors who are all current engineering students, and I love them all. And they really know their stuff. And so if you want to hear directly from a student, you have that opportunity as well. And thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I hope you did get something out of it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lynn. Thank you for providing a lot of great information for students who are interested in applying for an engineering program in the US. And we have a couple of questions here. So I'm going to start with the first question from Education USA Libya. Someone is asking, Abdurrahim. So he's asking, can an engineering student apply for an intensive English language program before starting his or her engineering degree?
Absolutely. If a student needs English language preparation, you can absolutely apply to the English Language Institute, to the English language program at the university that you want to attend, and as well as apply for the degree that you want to seek. So it's kind of simultaneous, right? Because the academic department needs to know that you're interested in studying in the academic department with the understanding that you're going to do the English language training first, because you might be accepted to the engineering program based upon your fabulous academics with the condition that you need to enter the English language program first. Okay, so yes, it's absolutely possible.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Larson, for this valuable information. So one of our students is asking whether it is possible to accept students with associate degrees.
Oh, associate degrees, yes. At the bachelor level, about half of our students come to the university with an associate's degree. And if you're a really smart and savvy student, that is what you do for a lot of different reasons. So in a community college or a school that offers an associate's degree, usually your class sizes are going to be a little bit smaller. You're going to study the same curriculum out of the same textbooks that are used at the university. You're going to be able to spend less money for those 2 or 3 years you're at the community college than you are at the university. Some students who really want to study engineering, but may be lacking like some of those basic math classes or physics classes, can easily take those foundation classes at a community college and just continue through the math and the science and the other courses needed to transfer to a university. The one thing to watch out for, and this isn't a bad thing, it's just you need to be aware that some universities in the US have requirements for students transferring from a community college or an associate degree that they must meet to be considered for admission. Okay, so it might be a string of classes that you need to take at that community college to qualify for admission into an engineering program at a university. In many cases, those requirements are either going to be found at your community college in the transfer center, or in the admission websites under transfer requirements or transfer criteria on the university website itself. And so that's just kind of the thing that you need to be aware of coming in with an associate's degree. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm receiving more questions now on my WhatsApp too. So for anyone who's watching us right now, so keep the questions coming. It is your chance right now. This is the Q&A's part. So the question says, I do not have an engineering degree. So can I still apply for an engineering graduate program?
That's a really good question. It depends on what area of engineering you want to go into. It is more likely if you have a science or math background, it is more likely you might be able to enter something like material science or engineering management, things like that. It's really critical in so many areas of engineering that you really do have that extensive background information in that exact engineering area. Now, if you don't have an engineering degree, but you have a lot of, maybe you've taken a couple of computer science classes, and maybe you've taken, a lot of math classes and the physics classes, you might stand a chance of being admitted to an engineering program on the condition that you come during the summer and maybe take summer and fall preparation courses, and then you can join the cohort in the spring. So every school is going to have their own rules and regulations as to admitting non-engineering students into engineering majors.
Yeah, thank you. And Ms. Lynn, how can an international student decide on an engineering major? Like, I mean, are there different information sessions that they have to attend in order to make the choice?
Sure, that's a really good question. So very often schools will have what we call open houses. They're now virtual, where you can join an open house or whatever it's called. At my school, it's called MAV Experience. And we have 2 or 3 during the spring term. You can join the MAV Experience and find out more about the university. And then there are breakout sessions, so you can find out more about engineering or more about business or more about the sciences. And then more about housing and all that kind of stuff. So you get a better sense of what the university offers academically. There's also so much information on college websites as to what kinds of engineering are available and what kinds of projects, what kind of problems are we trying to solve. So if you think you want to go into engineering and you're really not sure what kind of engineering you want to do, start at what problems do I want to solve? What kind of job do I see myself doing in the future? Do I want to be inside all the time? Do I want to have a job that I can work outside all the time or inside and outside? You know, things like architectural engineering. You're going to work inside with the architects as they're creating the buildings that you're going to supervise building. And then you're going to be outside at the job site working with the construction manager to make sure that things are working properly in the way that they need to work. So there's all kinds of different opportunities for students. But I would definitely say, you know, start with, where do you see yourself in the future? What kind of job would you like to have? What kind of problems do you want to solve? How do you want to make your community or your country better? And what skills do you need to make that happen?
Nice. That's very informing, Miss Larson. So we've got a student who asked, is it possible to enroll directly in a PhD without earning a master's degree at your institution?
That's a great question. So in some of our engineering programs, you can apply for the PhD. It's kind of a weird system. So some of our programs, you would need to be a master's student to apply for the PhD. But if you're a really strong bachelor degree student in a certain engineering subject, you would actually apply for the master's program. And as soon as you are on campus, you meet with your faculty advisor and say, you know, I've applied for the master's program. In my application, I said, I'm really interested in the PhD. So help me make that happen. So we call that fast track at our university. Other people call it, you know, speedy degree or, you know, some other name, where students come in, they apply for the master's, they're accepted, they meet with their faculty, and immediately they're put on the PhD track, right? And the reason we do that is, again, PhD research and courses are very specific to specific items of issue. So in that first semester too, we want to make sure that we have that linkage, we have that chain of your skills and your knowledge meet what we need for our PhD students, right? And you can also figure out, okay, this wasn't exactly what I thought it was, but I'm going to get my master's degree anyway, right? And so that's, different universities will do it in different ways, but yes, it's definitely possible as long as you are a strong academic student.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Ilham, do you have a question?
You can go.
Okay.
Go ahead and ask your question.
All right. So I have a question. Is there a room for electives for international students? Like if someone is studying engineering, what kind of electives can he or she study?
That's a great question. So at the undergraduate level, we make you take electives. You don't have a choice. In the undergraduate program of study, as an engineering student, you still have to take a humanities class. You still have to take a social science class. You still have to take, because we're a public institution, if you came to my school, you would have to take Texas history. And that's a graduation requirement. Most students who grew up in Texas take that in high school. But since you're not from Texas, you would have to take that class to graduate. So as an undergraduate student, yes, we make you take those classes. We recommend you do most of those, and your prerequisite classes to get into the major in your first 2 years. So for your humanities class, you might want to take glass blowing or ceramics or poetry. I mean, those kinds of things are available to you, right? As a graduate student, it's much more difficult because we've really tailored the graduate programs to get you out in 18 to 24 months. We're working on a couple of programs right now. They're not up and running yet, where you can get, depending on what your bachelor degree is in, you can get your master's degree in as little as a year to 18 months. To speed up that process a little bit, because we know how important it is for you to get that degree and get back into the workforce.
Okay. And we talked about the doctoral studies. So are there opportunities for postdoctoral studies for international students too?
That's a great question. Yes, there are. Postdocs can be a little challenging, only because you need to establish that relationship with the professor in the area that you want to do your postdoc studies. Sometimes your current professors may know somebody at a different institution that's doing exactly what it is you want to do, and they can make that introduction. Sometimes it's what we call cold calling, that you read an article that's published in a professional journal by a professor at an institution, and you get so excited you just send them an email, right? So there are different ways of securing those postdoc positions, but yes, they're definitely available in every research institution in the US.
Nice. So one of our students is asking what are the recommended levels of TOEFL or IELTS at your institution? So they would like to know
Sure.
before taking the test, maybe.
Sure, absolutely. So our TOEFL score for admission in all undergraduate and most graduate programs is a 79, which is a 6.5 IELTS or a 105 Duolingo. We are now accepting Duolingo because we know the exam can be done safely at home at a less expense. If you do Duolingo as a graduate student, and if you're looking for that opportunity to get an assistantship, once you come to campus, we will have you do an oral and listening English kind of test, because we want to make sure that our own students understand you and that you're understanding our students. And that part isn't quite as in depth in the Duolingo as it is in the TOEFL or IELTS. But that would be the only caveat to doing the Duolingo exam. I think it's a great exam.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, considering the pandemic situation right now, it's really helpful.
Yeah, it's really helpful. I don't want to send a student to a testing center and have them potentially exposed to COVID. Yeah, I would feel horrible for doing that. So anything you can do online, we're highly recommending.
Yeah. So one last question from our student is about the application fee to get into one of your programs. So how
Sure.
much is the application fee?
Sure. So good news for all of you is if you apply to UT Arlington and you write to me and say, Miss Larson, I attended your information sessions on January 25th, talking about applying for an engineering program. May I have a application fee waiver? I will forward that email on to my colleagues in the admissions office who actually provide the application fee waivers. I would be happy to do that for you for anyone today who would like to apply to UT Arlington. Other schools may have application fee waivers. Others do not have fee waivers. So again, it's all on a case-by-case basis. But for you who are here today, I would be happy to do that.
Nice. Thank you so much, Miss Larson.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We were very excited to have you today and to have this live session with you to our students in Tunisia, and we hope that our students benefited from this session. So thank you so much, and we look forward to have you in future sessions as well. So over to you, Amira.
Yeah, it's the same. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for our Libyan and Tunisian audience. And thank you, Ms. Lynn, for joining us today. We appreciate you being here. Thank you again, and we hope to have you also in the future with more opportunities. And for anyone who's watching us, if you have questions not specifically to the engineering programs, but generally about applying for college or choosing the best fit or looking for funding opportunities, please reach out to us, your advisors, Ilham and I. So always keep an eye on our Facebook pages and our Instagram pages too. We will announce our upcoming sessions very soon.
So don't forget to send us a message and to keep up with the updates we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for spending time with us today. I really enjoyed myself.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Leslie.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.